Just like any popular series, many people try and guess how it will end, long before it actually ends. Speculation is just a very human thing to do, and when it comes to fictions and people's headcanons, there's not only ways people will want it to end, but also how they think it will end. Now this is just my prediction, guys, and I'm not saying this is the ending, or this is even gonna happen, but this is just my prediction. It isn't even necessarily how I want it to end. Some ways there is some sort of stuff I put in this video where it's like, yeah, I kind of want that to happen, but this is just a video of me speculating what's gonna happen. I like these videos because I did this video on my Dragon Ball channel talking about how Dragon Ball Super is going to end. It was really nice to get feedback and also to get predictions from other people and see how they think or how they want it to end. So that's one thing I really want from this video, is go down in the comments and tell me how you think my hero is going to win, how you want it to end, and just let me know. And also please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get every video when I upload it. Anyways guys, before I actually get to the ending, I do need to analyze what has happened so far. This will feature both anime and manga spoilers, so maybe add this to watch later, get caught up in the series, and then come back to this video when you're ready. But anyways, so far in the manga, we have 199 chapters at the time of me recording this video. So just around 200 chapters so far. And we're still in Deku's first year at UA. And I actually do believe that Deku and the main characters are yet to actually go into their third term of the first year. I'm not 100% sure, but I will annotate a correction if I'm wrong later. But I do believe that they're only in their first year, and I don't even know if they've started their third term yet. But even then, 200 chapters for a single school year, and it's, not even over yet. And we do know that Horikoshi wants My Hero Academia to surpass the seemingly unbeatable Oda and his creation of One Piece. Now My Hero could surpass One Piece. It would be incredibly hard, but to even be considered close, he's gonna need to write a ton of chapters so they can release tons of volumes to get enough sales. Now One Piece is in the 900s already when it comes to chapters, and Oda recently said that One Piece was only around 80% done. So One Piece is gonna go well past the 1,000 chapter mark, but let's just say that My Hero Academia just gets to 900 chapters. A decent target number for Horikoshi, which could still give him a chance to catch Oda as an all-time great despite having less amounts of volumes. Now this actually could fit quite nicely. I think it is quite suitable and fitting that there will be 700 chapters over the course of the next 2 school years within this, and also the 2 summers. And it is actually very possible that in Deku's entire first year at UA will end up taking 300 chapters, because his year is still not finished yet. Which, if Horikoshi is at least aiming for the 900 chapter mark, that actually adds up pretty evenly with roughly 300 chapters per school year for Deku. I do need to say though that it is true that Deku wasn't even at UA for the first few chapters, and just because 1 year at UA takes X chapters, it doesn't mean at all that each year after this it's going to be the same length of chapter. Maybe year 2 will take just 60 chapters and be kind of uneventful. Who really knows? But I really enjoy it to get all 3 of Deku and his crew's years at UA, and a very, in-depth story for each year. Just like how I really like each of the Harry Potter's years at Hogwarts, as each year basically had their own book or movie focused on that. And also, as of right now, Deku can use 20% on One For All, and has had that for a while and has expanded and built upon that. All Might is retired, Endeavor is the #1 hero, the overall arc is done, and Endeavor had just defeated High End alongside Hawks. And there's still more to come for Deku's year. What I think is going to happen is that we will get a few minor villains throughout year 2 of Deku at UA. What I mean is, it'll be Deku and friends against the minor villains, and I predict there's going to be some major villains, but people like Endeavor and Mirio, the big 3, and other pro heroes will be the ones to defeat the major villains, and Deku and friends will learn from watching these fights. And I think we're going to get some really cool moments as well within the school, like class battles, the UA Sports Festival for second years, maybe some new year 1 students that would be cool to see, and some transfer students, or even one of the heroes of class 1A being forced to transfer to another school and learning new things at that school, and we get a new really cool arc with him. And then when he comes back later in the series, after being at that school for more than at UA. And I was thinking maybe someone from class 1A gets expelled. It's kind of a classical example for stories that feature being at academies or at school. Someone might get expelled, and there's a whole arc that can go behind that. I thought of something deep that could really happen with this and give the show consequences, and that'd be maybe somebody like Kirishima. He gets expelled. Maybe he gets framed, or is just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he gets expelled from UA, and he wants nothing but to be back into UA with his friends and get his hero career back on the right path. He tries to do some super crazy heroic act to save people, to save students at UA. Anything. He tries anything, and he puts his life on the line and loses it. This would put so much emotional weight on everybody. Fill the teachers and the faculty with guilt for expelling Kirishima, and then Deku and friends have to deal with this loss. And man, if that villain who killed Kirishima is on the loose, oh, Bakugo. That would kind of give Bakugo that, "That's my Bulma" moment. Instead, it'd be, "That's my Kirishima." So Bakugo would go off to find this villain, I'm guessing, to avenge Kirishima. And it'd be cool if at first he wants to fight alone against this guy, but, you know, Deku, Todoroki, and others show up and kind of stalk Bakugo to help him. And together, they defeat Kirishima's killer. And through the loss of a friend, this group grows closer together and makes Bakugo, I could see Bakugo getting a lot of development from this if that happened. I do think that that could happen. I don't know if it'd be Kirishima or follow those exact lines of events, but I would say that that is within the realms of possibility. Now, if Deku can get to 20% of One For All, and year 1 isn't over yet, I think that by the end of year 2, he'll also be able to use up to 100%, giving his 3rd year time to make it 100% stronger, to be able to go beyond 100%, and just work on those final quirks to become a better hero. Maybe learn some martial arts or something like that. I think that the final villain of year 2 for Deku is going to be Shigaraki. Now, this was one of actually the hardest things for me to predict here, and that was for me to decide, should it be Shigaraki as the final villain or All For One? Now, I think that Shigaraki is going to be the final villain of Deku's like year 2, or the main villain during year 2. I mean, he's been here since the beginning of My Hero, and I don't think he's going to be the final villain. I think that might be too long. All For One, in my opinion, is suited best to be the final villain for reasons I'll get into later. So, Shigaraki has a powerful quirk, but I just don't think it really matches well in a 1 versus 1 fight against a One For All user. So I don't think a 100% healthy Deku would make an interesting fight unless if somehow All For One gives Shigaraki a few quirks to help him out. Also, I think it could be that Deku has to fight a Nomu or even several types of Nomu to get to Shigaraki, and with Deku defeating the Nomus by finally activating 100%, he'd get wounded, maybe have to go beyond 100% to kill one of the Nomu, making one of his arms useless, so we get a wounded, weakened, and stamina-depraved Deku that gets into a pitched battle with Shigaraki. Make it really interesting, because, I mean, honestly, 20% Deku could probably beat Shigaraki. If Shigaraki gets a hold of him, Deku's done, but his quirk just lets him basically erode things over time. And I think Deku would definitely win that battle, and when it comes to Deku's final year, he's going to be the main hero in this class, just like he already has been. He'll be the best, and he'll now have over 100% of One For All, and he'll just be constantly improving himself and helping others. And so I think that All For One is going to be the final villain of this series. He is basically by far the most powerful villain ever shown in this series, and he's still alive. I think we'll be able to get a prime All For One as well. One that doesn't have a fucked up face and will be as strong or stronger than when he fought Prime All Might and disemboweled. And I think this is going to have to do with something with the sort of like cloning or genetic manipulation of the Nomus and applying that to an All For One that has escaped prison, and that brings him back to his prime. And I think this is a good villain for Deku to overcome, because remember, Deku is supposed to become the best hero by the end of the series, which means not only more powerful than All Might, but Prime All Might, and defeating a All For One once and for all would show that Deku has finally surpassed All Might, and Deku is the greatest hero. And I think what's going to happen is Deku is going to first fight All For One, and Deku's going to, remember this is 3rd year Deku, and he's going to have over 100%, but not as good as All Might yet, and he's going to fight All For One and lose. And before All For One actually kills Deku off, All Might actually arrives, and remember he's actually Small Might at this point, and in an instant he goes into his buff form, takes the hit for Deku, saving Deku, but sacrificing himself. As this happens, Todoroki, Bakugo, Mirio, Takayama, the whole gang arrives, and they fight All For One, and they're all failing. Deku breaks his unconsciousness and sees a dead Small Might next to him. Small Might is holding a bag, and Deku opens it up, and it's a letter from his mentor. We basically get Deku reading the letter with All Might's voice doing the voiceover in Deku's head. And it's basically All Might explaining that All Might isn't a person, he's a symbol of peace. And he says, "You are now the symbol of peace." And within the bag is All Might's outfit, his costume. Of course, by year 3, Deku should be taller and more filled out, letting him fit this uniform quite well. With the heroes failing against All For One, they are doomed, until a familiar quote is heard. "I am here." "Deku?" everyone questions. Deku lands on the ground with a wounded Ochiko in his hands, saving her as she was fighting All For One. "No, All Might, Deku says. With a giant brawl and a final plus ultra, All For One is finally defeated. And yeah, I think that Deku will become the next All Might at the end of the series. Just because if All Might was such a symbol of peace, why not always have an All Might? All Might really is a pretty gender neutral name. It could be passed down to a girl, and it could be passed down to a guy. And the thing is that in order to pass it down, you have to have a similar mindset to All Might or Deku, which further has the same mindset as All Might as a whole. You're giving down the same quirk, so why not just keep the actual person, and then you always have this symbol of peace. You always have All Might. You always have the symbol of peace. So I think that's what's going to happen. And now, one thing I didn't really know what to do is, should it be the third year sports festival and then the fight against One for All, or All for One, or have the fight against All for One and then the sports festival? I don't know. I think ending on a tournament arc like that would be pretty cool, where it's, you know, third year Deku versus third year Bakugo versus third year Todoroki versus third year Shadow. That would be really cool to see all this progression, and now that these guys are all fighting each other in that giant tournament at the end of the series. It could go either way though. But that's my predictions on how My Hero Academia will end. Let me know what you think. What's your predictions, and how do you want it to end? Please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and also turn on notifications and join my Discord. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...